Converted man. Proof God exists without using evidence? Wow! Amazing! I didn't know that you could prove anything without using evidence. This should be good. Now, we've got a 10-minute video from By God's Standard called Proof God Exists Without Using Evidence. And I'm going to respond to it live here. And since it's a 10-minute video, this video should be, let's see, do my calculations, about 10 hours. So here we go.
There is a ton of evidence that you can use to prove the existence of God, but I get it. It can be kind of intimidating and a lot. So it's sort of.
How about you name one? Could you just say one piece of evidence that you have? Can you please give us one? No? Okay.
Or like, okay, memorizing it all and understanding it all and then knowing what to pull out when you're talking to your atheist can all be really intimidating.
When you're talking to your atheist. Brilliant.
So I have really good news for you. You can prove the existence of God without using evidence.
Okay. Not sure how you're going to do that, but okay.
First of all, let's talk briefly about how to not talk to an atheist. Okay, so a lot of times a Christian might, or even just assume this is the best way to do it, is to talk to your atheist and say, okay, we're both going to pretend that we don't know whether or not God's real or not.
Pretend God? What now? You're going to pretend that God's not real? I don't know that you could do that. I don't need to pretend at all. This is like, yeah, when it comes to your version of God, it's not pretend. I know it's not real. So, yeah. But, okay, yeah, keep going. Yeah, sure. Dig yourself a hole. All right.
We will both present evidence and then evaluate the evidence and decide whether or not God is real.
Well, if you had evidence, then we wouldn't need to decide. We would know. There would be no decision required. Here's the evidence. Okay, that's it. Accept it. No problem. Easy. But you didn't present any evidence, so now what?
This is the wrong way to do it, and I'd like to show you that from the Bible. See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. So,
okay, cherry pick quote from the Bible. That's nice. I don't care about that. I guess I could dive into the theology and see if she's right about this, but I don't care. So keep going.
So this isn't telling us not to practice philosophy. It's telling us not to practice philosophy according to human tradition. So it's
How do you know that? How do you know it's saying that? Like, what's human tradition? What do you mean by that? Don't practice philosophy according to human. What does that mean? All philosophy is human tradition. Everything is human tradition. This also is a human tradition. What the bleep?
Christians, we should never be pretending that we don't know whether God's real or not. We should always stand on the ground that Christ is king.
But yes, be a precept. Yes, good idea. Yes, just yes. Start with your assumption and then work backwards. Good advice. Great job there. Yeah.
We're also called to defend our faith, right? So we should be engaging with unbelievers. We just don't do it in that way. So,
okay, but you don't need faith if you had proof. So
I'm going to show you a strategy today that is super easy, and I think you're going to like it. So how can we prove? How do we know that the God, as self-described in the Holy Bible, is true? Does exist?
Well, you wait a minute. You can't talk about proof. You said that this is without evidence, which is also without proof. So, what are you doing? Wait, you're already going against the thing that you said that you were going to do.
Christianity is the only reasonable explanation for the world.
That's an assertion that you would need to demonstrably provide evidence for. But you can't because you said that.
That's what the argument comes down to. Now, there's a lot of different ways that we can show this to be true. I'm going to show you 3 today, but there is a ton that you can use. And this strategy actually becomes really fun once you learn the basic steps of it.
Okay. That you're now talking about things that are proof, which is evidence. If you had evidence, then you would have the proof. So you lied about what your video's about. I'm kind of disappointed. Come on, do it without using any proof at all. No argument allowed. That's a proof within logic. So, yeah, you can't use that. It's a strategy. Okay, great. But in order to explain the strategy, you have to be able to explain it, which requires proof, which would then go against your video. Your video shouldn't exist. That's the problem. You don't know what that bleeper. Okay, anyways. So, yeah, you got it wrong. You can't prove anything without using evidence at all, or proof without proof. You can't do that either. But, even though you're way off into the weeds, I really want to hear what you think will work. So go on then.
So the 3 I'm going to go over today, there is no explanation for morality without God.
There's plenty of explanations of morality without any God at all. So that's just false.
There's no explanation for science without God.
Well, that's incoherent.
And there is no explanation for math and logic without God.
And that's also incoherent. Okay, so she's trying to teach precept. Okay, great. Wonderful. Lovely. Here's how to do precept. Just assume that you're right, assert that you're right, and then don't try to prove that you're right. Yeah, that sounds about it for precept. Just say that you're right, and that you, without God, you can't prove any of these other things. Case closed. Thanks for watching. You can't prove it without saying that my thing is true. Ha 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 ha, I won. Yeah.
Morality, science, math, and logic could not be possible but for God. Let's get into it. So the first argument is this. We know that God exists because there is morality.
No, there is morality. We know that. You can't extrapolate anything from that. Just that. It doesn't point to anything else. At all. Not even a little. Morality is a thing that we came up with as humans. That's it. That's what it is.
Is right and wrong. And there could not be morality without God.
Sure, there
some
is.
atheists, I'll just say this as a
all right, let's look. Look. Yes, there could be, and there is. So this is incoherent. It's just an assertion without any foundation at all.
Side note, some atheists try to get around this argument by saying, okay, fine, there is no morality. Okay, but an atheist doesn't live like there is no morality. If I were going to go steal his wallet.
No atheist that I know of has ever said there's no morality. So, yeah.
He's not going to be like, oh, well, I guess it's not morally wrong because there is no moral wrong, right? If that's the case, if there's no moral right or wrong, let's open the prisons because raping someone is not wrong and murdering someone is not wrong because there is no wrong.
Well, I mean, if you did that according to the Bible, you can rape somebody as long as you pay off their debt. And killing, perfectly permissible as long as God told you to do it. Drag the person to the edge of town and stone them to death. You got 613 laws that all end with stoning to death. Well, maybe not all of them ended that way, but most of them ended that way. I gotta go over those 613 laws one of these days. Anyways, keep digging your hole here.
That's silly. Obviously, there is morality. We all know there's a morality, and we all live as though there's a morality. So the next part of the argument is there could not be a morality without God. So what?
All right, so that's just not how an argument is even structured. I know you're a presuppositionalist, so you don't care, but you laid that out as if it was a syllogism. But no, that's broken. You need that too should be your conclusion. You need a lot of work to get there, which you don't have. Assertions aren't anything. This is certainly not evidence, though. So you got that right, and it's also a bad argument. So, good job.
What does this look like? How do we prove that to be true?
Well, you
Try
can't.
to look at the world through the eyes of your atheist. Okay, so there's nothing, and then there's
Wait, what? Look through. Wait, what?
a big bang of matter and energy.
All right. Now, when she says, look through the eyes of the atheist, of your atheist, what she then proceeds to do is construct a straw man. And I'm going to go ahead and write that. Let's see. Look through the eyes of the atheist. By that, you mean make a straw man of atheists, because, like, no atheist says that it was nothing that I know of. So, yeah. All right. So, anyways, that was bad. Just that's not what we think. We don't know how it came to be. But yeah, then the big expansion happened. That's science, not atheism, though. So sorry you don't like science, I guess.
And out of this big bang, there's a single-celled organism.
No. You kind of skipped a number of steps there. Like a ton of steps. Like, no, that's not how. Like, no, you need a world first, and then you need a sun. You need a whole lot of stuff before you can have that. And that's a separate process from the Big Bang. So, no, you're wrong about all the things that you said.
Millions of years go by, and that single-celled organism evolves and evolves and evolves, and then here's us. It finally
Kind of, but yeah.
evolved into us. Tell me, at what point in those millions of years was a soul added to the human?
Never. There wasn't one. And there isn't one. As far as we can tell, that's not a thing that's real. You invented that. That's it. Without proof, you don't have any reason for us to think that there is a thing called a soul or a spirit. So that's it. That's the answer. Never is the answer.
At what point was something added to the human that makes us not animals?
We are still animals. All of us are. We are still animals. There was never a time that we were not animals. Even if we had souls or spirits, we were still the animals. We are animals. That's the category of thing that we are. Wow. I could even use your own Bible to show you that, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Who cares?
Because from my understanding of evolution is that the single-celled organism evolves into these different creatures, and
your understanding is real poor there.
And you've got all these different creatures that all stem from the single-celled organism.
Yeah.
Why is the human different than the bear?
Well, it sounds to me like you need to learn a lot in biology, biochemistry, evolution. I don't know, a lot of science that you just need to learn for that answer. What makes us different from a bear? I don't know, fur, DNA. I mean, what do you want? A lot of things, but that you don't understand the answer to this question just proves your ignorance and doesn't help your case at all. You, like,
And the answer is it's not. A human is not different from an animal.
a human is an animal, but there are differences between this animal and other animals. Wow.
Through the eyes of an atheist, it couldn't be. Now you're going.
Yeah, actually, it is because there are morphological, physiological, chemical. There's every single type of difference that you could want between a human and a bear or what other, but we're still animals. So that's what we are. You don't have to like it. You don't have to understand it, which you certainly don't. But yeah, we are. So um I don't know what to tell you there.
Gonna get your atheist saying something like, well, of course humans have value. We're not saying humans don't have value. Yeah, I know that you know humans have value, but you know why they have value? Because they're made in the image of God.
What? No. Human value is placed upon humans by other humans, by ourselves. We value ourselves, our own species, um, typically, broadly speaking, more than others. We don't have a problem eating other animals because we can eat them, and they don't have a problem eating us because they can eat us. So if they do, then they do, and if we eat them, then we eat them. That's how that go. The value of humanity is completely and utterly a thing that we conceive of in our own minds, and that's it. It's not beyond that. It's not a thing. We care for other humans because we are social creatures. We make laws and rules to govern ourselves and others because that allows us to have a society. And that's it. We're just sophisticated animals, but we're still animals. If you go out into the wild and you survive in the elements, if you will, you can do it. It's, you're an animal. You're able to do it. You're able to, pick things to eat and hunt and kill and get food that way. And you risk death, which is what our ancestors did. And some people still live this way in tribes. So, yeah, you're still an animal, just you're more sophisticated and have abilities that other animals don't have. You have a different sort of brain than they do. Um, but as far as us being more valuable because God made us, why does that make us more valuable? In what way? How does that make us more than what we already are? You would need an argument for that. You would need demonstrable proof for that. You would need evidence for that, which you've already said you're not using. So there's no reason for me to think that you're right.
You can't explain anything else. There is no other explanation that could give humans value except God.
How does God give value to anything? How does that work? And again, that value is utterly subjective to us. We have assigned it, we have created that value. Objectively, the universe doesn't care about us. A meteorite could come and wipe us out. We've used our technology to be able to prepare for that and steer it away. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be able to do it. There could be a large solar flare that gets us. Any number of cosmic events could wipe us out. Even, heck, Corona 19 did a decent job at wiping out a lot of humans. Had it been more vicious and spread it even more and affected more people, we might not even be having this discussion now. A virus could hypothetically wipe out the entire human race. Where's your God then? Where was God during Corona, anyways? Didn't seem like it was helping. But you know what was? Science. Yeah, technology, people working hard to figure out how to make a cure for this thing that we were susceptible to because we are animals, just like other animals. That's how things work. All right.
So we're not saying atheists aren't moral. Atheists know morality just like you and I do, because God gave us morality in the Bible and in our hearts.
That's an assertion that you're making. You haven't demonstrated it.
Mostly love God, love neighbor.
Why do I need to love God? Why can't I just love neighbor? What has God ever done for me? Nothing that I can see, because I don't see a God. You haven't provided any evidence for God. I know I'm harping on the fact that you have no evidence. Given the fact that you said that you're not using evidence, you certainly aren't using evidence. Or logic, for that matter. You're just asserting things. Why should I believe you?
And so the atheist feels that morality just like we feel that morality, only we know where it came from.
I know where it came from as well. You just don't like my answer, so you assert your answer instead. Where morality came from? Humans. That's where. There you go. That's the answer. That's the real answer. I know you want to pretend it's something else, but the real answer is we came up with morals.
From an atheist worldview, from an atheist perspective,
there's no atheist worldview. There is no atheist perspective.
There was no point during evolution that would have made humans any different than animals. Why?
Correct. We are animals.
Don't we stop animals in the wild from raping each other?
Well, some people do that, but it's kind of a difficult thing to do. And, it's also hard to tell if they're willing or not, but animals don't have that sort of morality. Maybe if they're more sophisticated, they do. So, I'm not sure what the hell your point is.
We don't hold animals accountable to a moral standard. But if humans aren't any different than animals, there's no reason to hold humans to a moral standard.
Well, we are animals, and we hold ourselves and others to a moral standard, and there's plenty of reasons to do so, even though we are animals. If and when other animals develop the sophistication of mind that we do, I would suspect that they too would develop morals and like we have. In fact, we can see proto-morals in primates like monkeys and bonobo and chimpanzee. In fact, experiments have been done and shown that this happens. You can show that monkeys have a sense of fairness. Let's see. So there's two monkeys. They're paid unequally. Here's an example. Here we go. Okay. All right. So this is from a TED blog video. I can't pronounce the monkey's name. Chanupas reject unequal pay. Okay. So they give a cucumber to one and something else to the other, and here's that. So here's the chimpanzee monkeys, and they're getting payment for doing the thing. One gets a cucumber, the other one gets a grape. The grape is yummier than the cucumber. Look at this monkey on the left. He not happy that he not getting that grape. The other guy is getting the grape. I want that grape. I don't want this. Give me the grape. No, here, you can have a cucumber. I don't want. Okay, well, I guess I'll eat it. No, give me the grape. Give me the grape. Grape. Give me that grape. Give me that grape. Give me that grape. He's pissed. He knows it's not fair. He's not getting what the other guy is getting. Okay? So there you go. That's very, you know, that's a proto morality. It's a form of morality that has developed in these creatures. They have a sense of fairness, just like we do. Just ours is more sophisticated. That's all. It's not hard to understand. Well, maybe for you it is.
So how do you prove that God is real? Because we know that there is morality and there could not be morality without God.
Well, that's an assertion, but you haven't demonstrated that because you had no proof.
The second argument that we know that God exists is that we can do science, and you can't do science without God. Okay, let's talk about this one. So science requires the future to be like the past. So let's pretend you're a scientist and you're in your lab and you're working with like molecules, and you're like, okay, the water molecule has 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. I'm doing my work. Everything's great. You go home for the day, have dinner with your family, go to bed, come back to the lab in the morning, and suddenly the water molecule has 5 hydrogen and 3 oxygen.
You wouldn't come back because you would be dead along with everything else. And the planet would have exploded. That's what would have happened. Unless it's just that one beaker of water that happened in. If you're saying all water, we're dead. And the planet explodes. In fact, I would dare say pretty much everything explodes if that happens. Yeah. Nature has certain things that are the same. That's how it works. That's how it is. We call it laws of nature. And it's consistent for the most part. But here's the difference between science and your beliefs. If the scientists came and that water was different, we wouldn't just think, oh, it's a miracle. God must have done that. We'd try to figure out how in the heck that happened. Somebody must have, somebody or something, somehow, there was something that happened to add those extra elements into that water. Somebody's playing a trick on me, more than likely. Because it doesn't just happen on its own. And so we would need to observe it happening again. We would need to test it. We would need to verify it. We would need to figure out what the bleep is going on. If things radically changed in this way, we'd have to update our findings to match. And if things were constantly in flux, then we'd have to adapt to that. But you, presumably, believe in a God that can and has in the past messed around with the laws of nature as we understand them. So why should we think that God's not going to change that water in some way, shape, or form? Why isn't God doing chaotic things all the time? Well, because that's not what God does, right? Why? Well, why? There's no reason that God needs to keep the universe working the same way. It could be different every single day, and it wouldn't matter because it could still exist because God could make it so. God could make it change every single day so that we couldn't do science. Why would we need to do science? God, what does God care about science? God only wants us to worship it, right? Like, if that's God's desire or whatever you think God wants. So there's no reason with God that there should be a uniformity of nature. But if there isn't a God, then if things were not uniform, then they wouldn't be, and things would be different. And we don't know what that universe would be like, or whether it's even possible, but it wouldn't be this universe. So who knows? Yeah, so you're just appealing to the unknown as an explanation for the uniformity of the laws of nature. It's an appeal to ignorance.
All of your work is messed up, right? All of your research is messed up. You have to start all over. And is it even worth it? Because the next day it could just change again.
Well, yes, it's absolutely worth it because you want to know what the bleep happened. And if it changes again tomorrow, then it's still worth trying to figure out why it's happening. Why is it changing all the time? And if things kept changing all the time, then it would still be worthwhile to figure out what's going on, what's causing that change, and how do we live with that? What do we do about that? And if there was a God, it could do it. It could keep changing things moment to moment, day to day. Today, water was clear. Tomorrow, it's blue. Next day, there isn't any water. On Thursday, it was actually Monday, and Friday didn't exist anymore. We were upside down for a day. That was interesting. Not sure how that happened. Hey, you remember when we didn't have heads for a while? That was weird. Hey, there was an entire year where we're all turned purple. That was a strange year. I don't know what the hell's going on. Must be God. Oh, that'd be better evidence of God than everything just continuing on the way it has. But, whatever. God doesn't do those sort of things. I don't know why. I think it'd be more fun, Hey, you don't need a heart to keep being a person. Poof, no heart. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Doctors are like, where'd the heart go? Well, we don't need it, I guess. All right. See you tomorrow. And somebody's dead one day, but the next day they're alive again because whatever. God's doing it. Doesn't matter. Whee! Madness. Because God can do it. Oh, but God's not like that, right? God happens to align perfectly with the reality we find ourselves in somehow. How convenient. Ah, jeez. All this is a God of the gaps argument. It's not effective. It's not working.
So science requires the future to be like the past. The only reason that we're able
and not really either, but yeah, okay.
to do science is because we know that the future will be like the past. But the atheist has no.
And here's the thing that goes the other way around. We know that what works today worked in the past as well. Okay? So we know that electricity is a thing that we have today, so we can extrapolate that yesterday we had it as well, and so on and so forth. You know what we've never seen a demonstrable demonstration of ever in any lab? A miracle. A thing that breaks the laws of physics, which is exactly the opposite of what you're talking about now. So we had an example of something that broke the laws of physics of nature as we understood them, that we would call a miracle. And when we could examine that and understand that it was in fact a miracle, that would be then an indication that in the past miracles could happen. But we do not have that example. Not at all, not even a little, nothing. Zero, zip, zilch. So why should we think that the miracles are a thing in the past? Oh well, that doesn't matter though. Keep going.
No reason to believe that to be true. From the eyes of an atheist, the world started with a chaotic Big Bang. There's no order to the universe, no reason to believe the future will be like the past.
Wrong on everything that you just said there. That's not how we view things, and half of what you're talking about isn't anything to do with atheism, but is simply cosmology, physics, and how things work, which you can accept and still believe in God. Those things are not atheist in nature.
So you've heard of scientific theory, right? Why do they call it scientific theory and not scientific fact?
Okay, you're a moron. Okay, you're a moron. You've convinced me you're a moron. Good job. All right, let's hear what you have to say about this.
Scientific theory is something that's tested over and over and over again and not proven wrong. So why don't they call it a fact? And the answer is because they know they can't guarantee the future will be like the past, that there's nothing in their worldview, their atheist worldview, that shows order, that shows that the future will definitely be like the past.
Oh, so all scientists are atheists? Really? That's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, why is it a theory? Called a theory in science. Alright. And a theory is a well-sustained explanation of an aspect of the natural world that can incorporate laws, hypothesis, and fact. There you go. So, at the theory of gravitation explains why apples fall from trees and astronauts float in space. Theory of evolution explains why so many plants and animals are similar, so on and so forth. A theory not only explains known facts, it also allows scientists to make predictions of what they should observe if a theory is true. So theory can be disproven. Why is it called a theory? What do we mean by it? You could just Google that. I don't know. Why is it called a theory? Just that's what they decided to do. And if you don't understand that, that's on you, not on me to figure. I mean, like, it's just I don't know. They require extensive testing and agreement within the scientific community, though. See, a theory could be challenged. So the difference between a faith and a theory is a theory can be tested and demonstrably demonstrated. Faith cannot. It's the opposite of faith. So, what do you carry? You don't need evidence. You say so in the video. So, you don't need any of this. But, I mean, just to hear you talk about science, like, oh, yeah, science, atheists or scientists. Yeah. They call it a theory because of their atheist worldview. You're a moron. Because not every scientist is an atheist. So you're just wrong about that. Wouldn't then the Christian scientists, they wouldn't call it a theory then. But it's not how things work in science. You don't understand what you're talking about. So good job being a moron about that. Try to learn stuff. I don't know what to tell you. Google it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's just you're stupid. I don't know what else to say about that. Also, the fact that you're a moron and stupid about this thing doesn't mean that your argument sucks. Your argument does suck, but that's separate from you not knowing about anything that you're talking about.
Now, as Christians, we know that God created, controls, and orders the world in a way that the future resembles the past. But an atheist doesn't have that. So, how do we know that God exists? Because we can do science, and science is not possible without God.
And that's an assertion that you haven't demonstrated. Good job.
Our third and final argument for this video is that we know God exists because we can do math and logic, and math and logic are not possible without.
Well, you're not doing logic in this video. But, yeah, okay. This is pre-sup. Yeah, okay.
God. So have you ever thought about like the laws of math, like 2 + 2 = 4? It's not something you can like touch or taste. It just exists and it's true. And nobody invented 2 + 2 = 4.
Yes, people did invent 2 + 2 is 4. I mean, oh, jeez. Just keep being moronic.
It was found. Like this was already an order in the universe that people just realized. They just.
All right, now, since you seem to know so much, please explain what the number 2 is. Go on, I'll wait. Explain what the plus symbol is. I'll wait. Huh? Well, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Got it. Anyways.
Just found it. So where did these laws come from? They didn't.
They exist in the universe. I mean, like, the thing that we call a number is an idea that we came up with, and we extrapolated that idea, and we added on to that idea, and we said, okay, all right, I guess I have to use MS Paint because, I got to explain this here. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just the best thing to do is just to graph it out because certain people like her, they need the extra help here. So this is let me help you out here. Okay, so here's a thing that we observe, like it's a rock, right? Just rock. Yeah. Okay. And then we have like another thing here, and this is like another rock, right? And we go, okay. Here's the thing. You know, here's a rock, and here's a rock. Okay. Now, some societies and used to like have like no way to differentiate this, right? So until we had complicated societies, we didn't really need numbers at all. But eventually we did. So we're like, okay, if you have a thing, this is a one of that thing. That's the number we're going to use. That's the indication we're going to use. We're going to call this one. Other languages are going to call it other stuff, but in English, that's what we're going to call it. And we're going to use this symbol to denote that, right? And you're like, okay, cool. That's what it's about. And then you go, okay, and then but if you have two, well, you don't have one anymore. Now that's a different thing. So we're gonna name that two, okay? And then so if you have one of a thing, and then you have another one of the thing, now you have a two of the thing, and that works because that's an observation that we based upon objective reality, and objective reality is still a thing with or without God. So that's how that works. Okay? You got it? All right. Okay. I know it's difficult for you, but try to follow along.
Come from the Big Bang, because random chaos does not lead to order.
Random chaos does not lead to order. Well, yeah, it does. And you're wrong. So good job. And you're like, oh no, but I'm not wrong. Oh no, you are wrong. And let me demonstrate how wrong you are. Okay, let me get it out here. Okay, there's this thing called a Gallatin board. Galton board. Alright. So here, let me go ahead and show this here. Okay. So here's this thing called the Gallatin board. Alright? Or a Gallatin box or whatever. Or a beam machine, whatever. Okay? So you can go to YouTube, you can look for Gallatin board, okay? And there's a couple videos of it, but here's one. Okay. So you start with the beads in the bottom here, right? And then there's these pins, right? So the beads are going to fall on these pins, right? And they're either going to go left or right or whatever. And that's complete utter chaos, right? There's a controlling element, but it's random, right? Yeah? Okay, well guess what? We can predict that the beads, every time we do this, are going to fall into this little bell curve that's been drawn on this thing. And they do every single time. So you reverse it, they go back, you flip it over again, boom, pattern emerges from chaos. There you go. Checkmate, you're done. Pattern emerges from chaos. You're wrong. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. All right, back to this stupidity.
It does not lead to order that creates math. If you build a bridge, you can start building.
Nothing created math. That not in that sense. We created math / the observation of how things work. Is fuck it, screw it, just whatever.
The bridge on both ends, and it will perfectly meet in the middle. Why? Because math is perfect.
I got nothing on this.
The laws of math are perfect and ordered, and they cannot come from the chaos of the Big Bang.
They existed. Jeez, I don't even know how to explain. Reality however reality functioned is how reality functions. I don't know what else to tell you here. But yes, it can come from that if you want to say it that way, which isn't a very good way to say it because it is here. So deal with it, I guess. I mean, I don't know what it's just so incoherent. I don't even know what to say anymore.
Then the laws of logic are very similar, right? So
No, 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 no.
a law of logic that says there can't be an apple in my hand and no apple in my hand at the same time.
And what's that law called? Tell me the name of the law. Tell me.
That law, that truth, was discovered, not invented.
Wrong. It was invented by Aristotle, who came up with it. It's called the law of non-contradiction. And it was invented. Whether we like it or not, it was invented. But it was invented, well, it wasn't probably until later on that we started using observations of the universe to formalize our logic and informal logic. But yeah, I think Aristotle probably observed things that were around him and came up with these observations and codified them, but we still invented it. And again, it is observations of how the universe is, which I know you think means God did it, but you haven't demonstrated that God did it, which is actually kind of good because your video says that there's no evidence. And you're right. You haven't presented any evidence at all. All you've done is present really bad arguments. So maybe you are doing what you said you were doing after all.
And so it had to have come from somewhere. This kind of order had to have a creator. So how do we know?
Why? Why? Well, first of all, we created it. Secondly, why does it have to have a creator? Why couldn't it just exist? But how did God create it? So if there was a moment that logic didn't exist, then God made it? Is that how you think things work? Or is it that logic always existed? And this is a deeper problem than you might think. Not that she is thinking deeply at all. So I'm going to put that as a comment here. So, do you think that God made logic? If so, how does that work? Was there no logic until God made it? Yeah. Let's see her answer for that. She's not going to answer. She's not going to watch this video. Why would she? I told you it would be 10 hours. I've gone 50 minutes just about complaining about this video. I told you it was going to be long, damn it.
No, God exists because we can do math and logic, and math and logic are not possible without God. So
wrong. They are possible with or without God. Where you need to prove God's still, well, never mind. You're trying to prove it without using evidence, so you can't do it. But you're trying. You're like, oh, but I could do the same thing. Hey, if God exists, then logic doesn't work. Oh, see, same thing. Or I could put magic in there. I could say anything. Yeah, it just doesn't work.
So to wrap this up, the argument is that we know God is real, we know God exists because Christianity is the only reasonable account for the world.
Wait a minute. Even if I granted all your nonsense, that gets a God, but it doesn't get a Christian God. So you still have a lot more to do there. Oh well.
Only reasonable explanation for the world.
No.
Without God, we could not have morality. But we have morality because God put the morals in our heart in the Bible. Without God, we could have no science. But we have science. We know the future is like the past because that is how God creates, controls, and orders the world. And we could not have the laws of math and logic without God. And as Christians, we know that The laws of math, the laws of logic are a reflection of how God thinks. And that is how you prove God's existence without using evidence. I appreciate you watching until the end. If you got something out of this video, I would appreciate you liking it, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it if you think someone else you know might find it helpful. And if you would like to see other ways to use this strategy, like using evidence in this strategy, which is definitely an option, or just other areas of conversation where you can use this strategy, let me know in the comments and I can make another video. Thank you for watching.
Whoops.
There is a...
Okay, so, no, the video is called, the video is called Without Using Evidence. So the whole point of her video is that she didn't use evidence. So she didn't, she's right. Well, you sure didn't use evidence or any coherent argument. Hey, tell you what, why not come on my channel and we can talk sometime? Let's set that up. My email is on my About page. Let's see if you're willing to explain this to me live. I doubt it. Alright, I'm putting that as a comment, just to finish this off. Yeah, we can prove that she committed murder without evidence. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, if you can prove stuff without evidence, then everything's permitted, isn't it? So this is a precept, is really what I would rename this. That's what the video is, and and just they got a few atheist commenters in there, so please do me a favor. If you're not going to comment on my video, which I would love if you did, go comment on her video and tell her how wrong she is. Maybe she'll listen. I doubt it, but it's worth a try. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video and you listened to all 52 minutes of me ranting about a 10-minute video, I appreciate that. Leave a like or don't, whatever. I don't care about that as much as I do your input. Your input gives me something to interact with. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right. Say stuff. Not just in chat. Do appreciate that you guys chat, but know that YouTube doesn't care about that and will delete chat and we won't see it. So comment on the video when it's an actual video. And so Scott Duke, Jerry, I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name, and Ra, Poots, whatever, Piana. Is it Piana? Okay. I better see your comments on the video when it's a video. If not, I don't know, something. I'll send the lobsters. I don't know. All right, that's it. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Lobsters exist. And just Finn and I don't know, prove wrong. I guess that's just all there is. Just prove wrong. I got nothing else. Goodbye, everybody. Be a skeptic. Whee! Madness. Yeah.